work in order to feel. And so, like, if I'm completely clear about what I'm doing or who I am, or I've completely let go and just everything's flow and it all glows, and then, then I see like already, I can see that I go into some kind of rhyming or something where I don't know what's going on necessarily. And like, there is some kind, like, I've done it before about the schizophrenic thing. Like, I did have an experience that people did label me as schizophrenic, and I went to a psychiatrist, and I did speak in verse. Like, I just spoke in verse, just completely, just feeling like William Blake or something. And
well, that's like in the mainstream psychiatric culture, spiritual emergencies and psychotic breaks are the same thing. So they're not necessarily the best institution to go to for help when you're having that type of a...
Interesting. I think the environment, the context around it too, can make the difference between someone being like an awesome artist and a schizophrenic. People are like, oh, that guy's brilliant. He's doing this, or no, that guy's crazy.
Yeah, most artists are just crazy.
But
I mean, you have to seem out of place. Like, artists, I think, are the prophets. Like, they see what's going on in the culture and reflect it back.
Yeah.
Like, politicians and the legislators, they're way behind. They're always trying to catch up to the artists and the scientists who are, and the progressive revolutionaries who are, these people are, they're the leading edge.
Do you encourage artists to be scientists and scientists to be artists?
Well, I think they've always been deeply related. Like, think of Leonardo da Vinci. He's the
some example.
Renaissance. Like, that's kind of
I suppose it's just maybe there's stereotypes that if you're very scientific minded, you're not going to be good at art, right? And if you're very artsy, you're not going to do good at science.
So art is creation, right?
Yeah.
And science is supposed to be more about discovery. Like, it's already there. I'm just observing.
Yeah.
But really, if you look at what science does, they build instruments which allow them so it's a technique, it's an art form that then allows them to observe something they hadn't seen before. So they're always, science and art are always, they got it.
Yeah. And I mean, there it's just like the language of how you describe it. Like when you're saying that science is more discovery. Yeah. If I tell you this man is a chemist, or this guy is a pharmaceutical, is a pharmacist or something, you already have an image in your head. Someone who's, making pills or doing things.
Right.
Whereas if I say scientist, it can be vague enough where you don't know if he's just on a computer. And even that is still just going to be, how are we classifying what creation is and what isn't creation? Right. And my understanding is that it's all creation, or none of it's creation, and we can take different roles. Like, I can just sit and not move, and then it feels that my body is not, this body is not doing as much, but then I feel that I'm more myself. So it's like some other body is moving through, or somehow I can be aware that thoughts are going through that I'm not as identified with, and that there's some meta process.
Yeah. We're earthlings before we are human minds. The human mind is a derivative of the earth. Everything else on the planet.
Well, derivative. I guess we can say so in a linear.
Well, but we're still, as derivatives of the earth, we're like apples. Apple trees, like Watt's puts it, right?
Yeah, I guess it's like, since you can see a process, then maybe you want to say it's a derivative. But if you step outside of time, then the derivative
it's all integrated.
Kind of like sand. We could say that dirt is a derivative of humans.
Right. Yeah. Well, from the perspective of eternity, from non-perspective, these things are all equally present as a whole, as some whole. But from an evolutionary perspective, the Earth was spinning around the sun, and it cooled off, and it started forming into. The life which emerged on the surface was almost mimicking or miming the spherical shape of the Earth. So it's like the Earth is recreating itself within itself. we're derivative in the sense that we are the Earth reproducing itself at a completely different level, harmonic level of energy resonance. But it's all connected still, so and it's all ever present. So I guess I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. But, ultimately, it's all part of the same process.
Interesting. If there were a part of I'm not allowed to be on camera. There was a part of the Earth, and Matt, as far as I understand, your position does not separate humans from Earth. You don't get humans without Earth, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So, in that sense, they're connected. And if the Earth is producing humans to kind of rejuvenate itself, do you see humans as being something similar to maybe just more complex cells like our own bodies might have, like areas that complexify more when they're reproducing? I know certain brain cells don't reproduce, right? It's certain they can't reproduce.
That's been questioned.
Yeah. Well, there's constant neurogenesis. Non-grown form.
I mean, the most recent thing, like my dad's a neuroscientist. The most recent thing I heard on that was like in the eye that there are certain that won't regenerate. I personally think that it can regenerate, and anyways, by now they're probably scientific, medical processes for So
yeah, and I actually think it's not too far away from bioengineering, trying to find science, right? The technology, trying to find the way to make the rejuvenation, even wherever it's not possible already. I think the technology wants to try to do that in humans, whether we want to agree with it or not.
Well, that we have we have control, So it's like, do we heal our bodies or do we degenerate our bodies? Like, and this is something that I'm working on, being able to explain, say something like energy healing to someone who's saying, I don't believe in energy healing, or it's common for people to talk about the placebo effect as if it's kind of like something stupid. Like, have you noticed like an attitude that like
common sense, like duh.
Well, kind of like, like if I say that your attitude can change your health, someone will be like, well, yeah, there is a placebo effect or something, as opposed to like seeing, okay, there's a place to open the mind and the behavior that's going to make like that there's actually like some beacon of health, light, and goodness, not just like, oh, well, yeah, I know that when people take sugar pills, it does the same thing as taking Prozac or something, where it's on the negative side versus like having an attitude of
how do I
really
apply this?
That seems like a slight underhand acknowledgement. Like, okay, I'll give you this, but I won't really acknowledge that.
Yeah. Or just not it's not coming from this where it's like, yes, my attitude can change. It's not like that's not coming from typically atheists. And
I don't like God sometimes too. I have atheist moods.
Yeah, I'm not a theist, but I wouldn't go with. It's just like there's a. I was someone that called himself an atheist, but it's just like, why would I spend my time? I don't know. I don't actually want to get into because the trolling is brutal.
Right.
But
we'll provoke that.
Okay, you can cut. Just cut.
It's more. That's more word for me though. I'll probably leave that.
Well, it's me, right? They're not gonna.
They'll totally our shiz.
Okay, I stepped on some.
No, dude.
That's
what we're trying. We don't want to. We want to let people kind of be.
They're happy to be acknowledged. Classically. That's how you feed them the energy that they like to receive. You have to call them out, and they like to argue. So
no, and I like to like. This is something I was going to say earlier. Is like when we talk about the materialist or the atheist. At a certain point, I'll get if I did get into that conversation, I'd be like, okay, well, what do you actually want? Like, what do you try? Like, what do you want to do with your time right now? Like, and your energy. See, in this conversation, or my understanding, like I can feel that there's you know, there's a
Blockage.
what's that?
Blockage or
Well, I'm talking about.